Mr. Jaitley, thank you very much. It's great to see you in your campaign territory in Amritsar. You're fighting an election. It's a big risk, isn't it? I mean, the first question is about after 40 years in public life. The general view was you had to fight a Lok Sabha election at some point of time. But is there a sense of apprehension in your own mind about the stakes?
No, stakes are always there in politics. You see, if you have a slightly profit and loss approach, you'll never be able to do politics. I don't do it this way. And I entered politics at a very young age. And I entered at an age where, right till 1999, after having put in some close to 30 years, I had no ambition. I had no ambition of contesting an election. I had no ambition of acquiring a political office. It's only when the second Vajpayee government took over that they wanted me to join the government.
Yes.
And it all started in my case. So I am not in the least apprehensive or bothered. I see myself pretty safe as far as this constituency is concerned. I have my calculations in place.
Was it a point you wanted to prove? A Lok Sabha election?
I didn't want to. The decision is not personal. The decision is of the party. At various areas of the country, in important metropolitan towns, which are nucleus and represent that region, we have important people contesting. Mr. Modi contesting Varanasi, Dr. Joshi contesting Kanpur, Rajnath Singh contesting Lucknow, Sushma Swaraj contesting what is part of Bhopal, Vidisha, Narendra Modi contesting Baroda, Advaniji contesting what's a part of Ahmedabad. These are all important constituencies which our leaders have been contesting. So there was an idea that north of Delhi you must have somebody, and since I am familiar with the language of this region and I have an ancestral connection with the region, the collective decision was if I could come here.
10 years back when I was on the campaign trail with you, remember we were in Bangalore, interviewed you at that point of time. At that point also people were asking about whether Arun Jaitley will eventually fight a Lok Sabha election. You did a lot of campaign management.
You see, I have over the years, both because of the fact that I was a lawyer for a very long period, I was a Rajya Sabha member, acquired what's called a different image. My critics call it a soft image. And they probably thought that I won't contest an election. But when the party said...
You mean critics within your party?
No, general commentators. I think critics is too harsh a word. And when the party decided and they asked me for my choice, I said, whatever the party decides, I'll honor that decision.
So it's a point you're proving.
It's not a point. You see, if you are a part of a collective decision making in a party, you take decisions whichever come your way.
Mr. Jaitley, let's take up some hard issues now. You are at a macro national level. Viewers watching you right now, the party is fighting an election. It appears the party has made a few mistakes and the campaign has got muddied. I want to pick up several issues with you. My first question is about the statements that have come from leaders of the BJP, the Sangh Parivar and others. Mr. Jaitley, we are talking at a time when members of the Sangh Parivar and the party affiliated organizations have caused great embarrassment.
Can I tell you something?
To the BJP. Just allow me to complete. Both you and Mr. Modi, you wrote a blog, Mr. Modi put out a tweet, you disapproved of their remarks. But will a mere disapproval suffice?
See, let me tell you, every election sets its own agenda. This election is essentially about governance issues. The governance issues have created two impacts. One, a strong anti-incumbency against the Congress. Secondly, there is a hope in Mr. Modi and the BJP that he leads. Now, we have to confine ourselves on those issues. Now, if some wise men decide to alter the agenda, it certainly hurts us, it doesn't suit us.
It's deliberate?
I would not say that. You see, frankly, it would be unfair for me to impute a motive. People have been, a lot of our cadres, and I can tell you this is one of the problems, have been trained with an agitational approach. So to make some statements which is a part of the larger agitational approach forms a part of their style. Now today there is a different situation. We have reduced this campaign to a situation where Mr. Modi and mainstream BJP is seen talking of governance, seen as the natural parties are seen talking of as a natural party of governance. The Congress or the Gandhis, on the contrary, have forgotten what the party has done. They've forgotten the government. They are on this Modi agitational approach.
They accuse you of going Vadra.
No. I'll come to Vadra a little separately. Therefore, BJP must and should only come out at this stage as a natural party of governance and talk of those governance issues.
Agreed.
It's suiting us.
Agreed.
Now, if somebody has deviated from the agenda, it's important that rather than condone it, we flag the issue and point it out.
No,
and this is the party.
I will not even pick up on the issue of Amit Shah's revenge remark, because I know that you will say that revenge was meant in a slightly different context.
Obviously
it's been misinterpreted by the media. But the other comment which he made a day later, by voting for Modi, he says on April 5th, you will do two things. You will bring Modi in the center and you will uproot Mullah Mulayam from Lucknow. Now, Mr. Amit Shah is an experienced person. He's run many campaigns. He knows the complete import of using the prefix Mullah before Mulayam. Why did he do that?
May I say this? Everybody has his own style of addressing. I would urge all, including Amit, of whom I have a very high opinion I am very fond of, that the use of this phrase at this stage, the focus is on us, the floodlights are on us, and therefore every word we utter has to be seen, has to be with a sense of responsibility. I think it could be faltering, and therefore it should have been avoided.
But Mr. Jaitley, again, you and Mr. Modi, you say that you name well-wishers. You wrote of well-wishers in your blog. Mr. Jaitley also, Mr. Modi said something similar in his tweet, almost as if you were speaking the same language. But this is a generic statement of disapproval from the Bharatiya Janata Party, which wants to push the development agenda, especially from leaders like you. A stronger naming of leaders was required, Mr.
We are not wanting a civil war within the party. We don't want conflicts and deflect the agenda. Therefore, if somebody does deviate from the agenda, a polite reminder to him, and he corrects himself. That's how parties are run. Parties are not run with a whip in your hand.
So what about your allies? When Ramdas Kadam, and you may have heard of this, of the Shiv Sena stands in a rally at the Bandra Kurla complex.
His party pulled him up. The Shiv Sena pulled it up.
The
and
BJP didn't?
No, but he's a Shiv Sena member, and therefore the Shiv Sena immediately reacted and said these kind of statements should not be made. So, I think they did a fair thing.
So why is this religious stereotyping happening?
As I've told you, in a large campaign where thousands and thousands of speakers are involved all over the country, these kind of statements are a drop in the ocean. They embarrass us. They don't help us. They hurt us. Therefore, we have to politely tell these people, please don't do it. And therefore, if they come on track, we don't want to escalate the crisis any further.
One more point on that. You have been known, and I've followed your political career, you are a tough disciplinarian when it is required. You are one of the people who supported Uma Bharti and were instrumental in her rise to becoming Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Yet, when the time came to actually be tough on Uma Bharti, you were among the leaders who was tough on her as well. She's back in the party, but regardless, that reflected a certain attitude of yours. Mr. Jaitley, why are you, I don't understand why you're using words such as we ask our well-wishers to exercise restraint, kindly refrain from making these comments. You're a top leader. You should be instructing these leaders not to talk like this, not politely requesting them.
We are speaking and not frankly speaking when we deal with our own party people.
Why?
So everybody can't follow your style. We have to follow our style. Therefore, polite reminder, and people realize what they are supposed to say. After all, hasn't Giriraj Singh or Kadam for that matter, or Uma Bharati restrained themselves from this? In fact,
Giriraj Singh is on the run. Uma Bharati has said nothing to the effect that
I'll tell you,
myself.
Giriraj should never have made a comment of this kind, because there is no place, and I am glad Mr. Modi openly said that there is no place for such a remark. You can vote against Mr. Modi and you can still be a very patriotic Indian, as far as I am concerned.
Okay. My second point to you is on personal attacks and the whole issue of Robert Vadra. Now, you have amplified your attack on Vadra. I don't understand, Mr. Jaitley, can you please tell me why you have changed Priyanka Gandhi's, the way you refer to Priyanka Gandhi? There are two blogs of yours on April 14th in your campaign diary, by the way, which you now have become popular for. You put out a campaign diary, April 14th, you say, Priyanka Gandhi has agreed to contest the Varanasi seat. On April 23rd, it becomes Priyanka Vadra.
But that's how the media...
Priyanka Vadra should not be politics.
Well,
That's not media.
I have no method in it. The media alternatively refers to her as a Gandhi or a Vadra. As far as I am concerned, it makes no difference. I would not like to show any personal disapproval or anything which is discourteous to refer to somebody as...
So why are you targeting her on Robert?
No, I'm not personal. Let's be very clear. She made a statement saying that it hurts me when my husband is attacked.
Yes.
It hurts my children.
Yes.
I politely reminded her that I agree with you that personal attacks should be avoided. Corruption is not a personal matter, it's a public issue. But then, is your party and your family willing to listen to you? Your brother took up the issue of snoopgate and brought it. He took up the issue of Mr. Modi's marriage. Her mother took up the issue of calling Modi a maut ka saudagar.
What's wrong with that? Why should there be a moratorium on political attacks by the opposition leaders?
Well, what applies for the goose applies for the gander. Therefore, there should not be a moratorium. If somebody has made money in an extraordinary manner, why should there be a moratorium on that?
But does Mr. Narendra Modi speak up on the allegations against him? He speaks of creating, for example, fast-track courts to try politicians. But so far, he has not spoken at length on Babubhai Bokharia, who was convicted for illegal mining, or for that matter, Purushottam Solanki, who faces a CBI.
Let's be very clear. If I read in the newspapers while I was in the campaign, one of these gentlemen has been completely acquitted by the Supreme Court.
Did he, while this controversy was on all this while, mention or speak about them? And what about one gentleman, but the other gentleman still faces CBI?
I'll just tell you. He faces a probe. Probe doesn't mean that he is guilty. Therefore, the gentleman who you said was convicted, if his conviction is set aside or completely stayed by the Supreme Court to say that he is innocent now, of course, how can you hold it against him?
But then the Congress party says that has the BJP forgotten the fact that a petition on the case of Robert Vadra was dismissed with very strong comments by the Supreme Court and the High Court?
Did the Supreme Court say that the money has been made the rightful way? Did the Supreme Court say it's legitimate? They said don't bring these kind of political issues to us. Tomorrow, if the tax department or somebody finds anything which is foul, I'm not saying they will find or they should find, but they must be allowed to do their job. Then is it not a political issue? You see, let me express what my apprehension was. On a nil investment, you start a business. The world is willing to oblige you. Suddenly you get all kinds of largesse. You return the loans which you have taken.
Right.
And within a matter of months, you come out with a bonanza. Now, this model of doing business by somebody who's politically connected, and I refer to investors investing in what is called a political equity, is somewhat extraordinary. Now, I reminded Mrs. Gandhi, the younger Mrs. Gandhi, Priyanka, that if you are saying personal attacks should be avoided, then nobody should really mention this. Then you be bold enough to say, what my party is doing, my brother is doing, or my mother is doing, I don't approve of it. So the Gandhis can't have a state that when I am attacked, I and my children feel very touched because my husband is being attacked, but we have a right to talk about Modi. Have you seen the kind of language Anand Sharma, Manish Tiwari, Kapil Sibal, P. Chidambaram
your party has
use about
very kind
Mr. Modi?
No, but Mr. Jaitley, your party has not been very kind either. You have used all kinds of words. For example, let me ask you. You have, in your own blogs, Mr. Jaitley, you have referred to Sonia Gandhi's foreign origin in response to Amritsar Singh calling you an outsider. Then you have mocked her televised appeal by using this "Main nahi mom" bar, "Main nahi mom," which was.
Have we lost our sense of humor or not? Let me just stop you at both these. Rahul Gandhi led the campaign and with a slogan called "Main nahi hum," and then suddenly all of you did programs that this sudden appeal, the son goes into the background and the mother is told it's your appeal that will work. Therefore, I punned on that slogan and said, "Main nahi hum."
So you're saying that was...
I think even in the intensity of a political campaign, there is some space for humor. And therefore, I thought the comment was received quite well.
No, but
now, let's come to, I didn't refer to her foreign origins. My parents, my mother happens to belong to this town where we are sitting right now, Amritsar. My father belongs to this region. Amrinder Singh doesn't belong to this region. He suddenly starts calling me an outsider. I have 100% Maja blood in my veins. He doesn't. So I told him it's irrelevant. To drive home the point that this is a bogus argument, I said if I don't belong to Punjab because he had called me a pseudo Punjabi, will you tell me to which state does Mrs. Sonia Gandhi belong? To which he said it's unfair to question this. The answer is when senior national leaders contest from a given state, Banaras or Amethi or Rai Bareli or Gandhinagar or Vidisha, these questions are relatively secondary.
What about the questions of Sonia Gandhi's illness? Narendra Modi said about Sonia Gandhi's illness in November 2013, "Agar Madam बीमार है तो बच्चे को काम दो. If Madam Sonia Gandhi is ill, hand over the work to her child Rahul Gandhi."
Well, I think
it's fair to bring in issues of Sonia Gandhi's illness.
It's not fair to bring in, and I must tell you, at a time when she went for an initial treatment, both Mrs. Sushma Swaraj and I had a press conference where we were asked about her illness. We refused to discuss it and said we pay for her good health. And that's how the country should receive it. I'm glad nobody, not even the Indian media or the politicians, have made much of an issue.
So that was a mistake for Narendra Modi to
pick up. Let me tell you, it's not, everything is not white or black. There is a way of public speaking or diction. Therefore, everything is not to be approved or disapproved. By and large, the approach of all, including the BJP, has been that as far as illness is concerned, we never make an issue out of it.
Tell me about the arrangement that you have had with the Congress
There was
party.
no arrangement.
Not to attack each other.
No, there was categorically no arrangement.
You won't question Vadra? And they won't
I have personally raised the issue of Vadra. I have even raised it in the past. I have commented on it in interviews whenever I have been asked.
They don't question Ranjan Bhattacharya in turn?
Well, if there is an allegation, please question Ranjan Bhattacharya.
They've not picked up the Adani issue as aggressively as they've done now.
What is the Adani issue? I'd like to understand. A businessman does well. For the last 20-30 years, you suddenly invent an Adani because you have nothing else against the BJP and Narendra Modi. Does the BJP have anything to do with Mr. Adani? Mr. Adani has the best friends in the NCP and the Congress as far as I am concerned.
You expect people to believe, Mr. Jaitley, that you've not picked up the Vadra issue as a response to Rahul Gandhi's picking up the issue of Mr. Narendra Modi's marriage?
No, Arun, I have never.
Is there not a link between these two?
No, there is a link. There is a link, and let me explain to you the link. I have, as a rule, never spoken on persons. I speak on issues. I have breached that rule twice myself. The first I breached it when Rahul Gandhi took up the issue of the so-called child marriage of Mr. Modi. I reminded him that this is a legitimate child marriage, which is on paper. He's disclosed the truth. If you want to go this far about legally valid relationships which may not have been acted upon.
Why do you say go so far?
How is it an issue? How is it an issue?
Kapil Sibal says it's a technical issue. We are raising it technically.
No, it's not a technical. Let Mr. Kapil Sibal also remember, and Mr. Kapil Sibal himself remember. And that is what I reminded everybody. There are a large number of people in public life, in the Congress party, who have relationships which are not legitimate. Have we ever questioned them?
How is that an issue? Now that's a threat.
See, no, it was a threat. Yes, you are right, Arunab, you've got it right. It was a threat. And the threat was, if you try and make a legitimate relationship not acted upon into an issue, then other relationships, I didn't name anybody, can also be made an issue. And I'm glad the Congress party responded to them. Some wiser sense prevailed and said, we drop the issue. That's when they dropped the issue. Otherwise, if you go into a situation where legitimate and illegitimate relationships, personal lives become issues, Indian politics will be a mess. Congress started it. They had to be given a rap on the knuckles. They had to be reminded that they have too many skeletons in their cupboard.
Why do you call it skeletons in the cupboard?
Well, if all the disclosures come out, it won't be a very pleasant thing for them also.
What kind of disclosures?
Well, why should I name them? When I didn't name them in my blog, I'm not going to name them before you. You know what I'm talking about and they know what I'm talking about. So I had to remind them. When you said threat, it was a veiled, threat is not the right word, a reminder. Not a polite reminder, but a firm reminder, let's not go on this track. And the Congress party had to stop. I am responsible for the creation of this slogan and the campaign, along with some of my colleagues, and I take full responsibility for it.
Sushma Swaraj doesn't agree with it.
She hasn't said so. She's a part of the campaign
That's
committee.
the general belief, knowledge.
Well, these are rumors which we would like to spread. The campaign lines have been decided by both of us collectively.